doorbell at Jimmy's house. Now, when you come to my house, my doorbell sounds like this.
Hey, welcome to the People's Weekly on People's Radio United. I'm Tim Best Buds. I'm here with Canadian Glenn and Steve Shagwell. And I'm still half asleep, as always. I just get off work like a couple hours before the show, and I usually don't sleep before that. So after the show is my sleeping time. How are you guys doing?
Boo!
Oh, I'm good. I'm just, I fought the law.info on indefinite hiatus. And I'm really focusing on Your Band Sucks because I'm getting a lot of submissions from bands, and I'm trying to keep up with that, and I'm trying to build that. And, I've got all the stuff I do for Intel Group, which I really, as far as activism goes, consider more important than I fought the law.info anyway. So, that's me these days.
Cool. What's going on?
And I just learned spiced rum in your coffee is awesome.
What?
I'm just now learning that spiced rum in your coffee is awesome.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
What's going on with you, Glenn, and the view up here?
Oh, we're past all the holiday bullshit now, and it's pretty much back to business as normal. Just the same old thing. Canadian politics. Trying to not get it shoved up your ass. Maybe turn it around on them a little bit. I know on my channel, on Tuesday, January 16th, CNY Rebel, the longtime host of Russell League Radio and Revolution Radio, will be hosting a show on my Blog Talk Radio channel, and it'll be a memorial show for someone who passed away in the last week, Jamie Cochran, most likely better known as Asshurt MacFags. Jamie left us unexpectedly, legendary troll from the last, what's turning out to be close to a decade now, since we're in 2018. There's going to be a tribute memorial show for Asshurt on my channel next Tuesday.
At 6 o'clock Pacific time?
Yes, that is correct.
Cool. So yeah, today we decided to just talk about activism in general because it's the same old shit. Trump's a racist. The country's fascist. The world's having issues. You know what I mean? Every week, same thing. So
Country's been fascist for a long time. I mean, it was long before Trump, but Trump is definitely just, putting it right in our faces, like, ha ha, what are you gonna do?
yeah, but I mean, it's like the news stories every week are so close to the same thing, just the different, with a different facade or something. Trump does something stupid. Somebody, some racist, white supremacist kills some people. It's the same thing. So I guess we talk about activism, techniques, tips, tricks. What were you saying, Steve?
Pro tips.
There you go.
Yeah, pro tips and hot takes. Yeah.
Easter eggs.
What were you saying before that?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know, dude. Oh, I think I was saying, Trump has brought us some very, very interesting stuff, though. He's definitely made the country interesting. For example, I learned this week the First Lady is an immigrant from a shithole country. I mean, wow, cool.
Yeah. Why would he marry someone from a shithole country? What's wrong with him? He's not a
because, have you seen her naked pictures? Good Lord, dude.
Well, let's remember now the actual definition of shithole, according to Drumpf, is the color of your skin. Let's be honest.
That's true. That's true. He never really bashes anybody white unless there's somebody going against him personally. But he'll bash a whole group of black people for anything, and he'll treat them differently. Disrespect. Or anybody, any race that's not white, he'll just disrespect, and he's such a racist bastard. Why are we on this tangent? We weren't even supposed to talk about this. We said this last week and the week before and the week before.
He just gives us so much fun to talk about because he's not just stupid, he's spectacularly stupid. It's like driving down the freeway and seeing a car accident. First you have to slow down and look, even though you don't want to, and then you have to talk about it, even though you don't want to. Because you're just like, what the fuck, dude? Check out what I just saw.
He's like I've heard him referred to as a dumpster fire, a car accident now. Wow. It's never anything good.
He's a dumpster fire that was started by a car accident.
There it is.
On a crumbling bridge.
Yes. We can only hope.
Yeah.
With a 60-foot LED video billboard hanging over it.
Yeah, for real.
Yes.
He's such a
so there is something to add every week to the same old story.
No. Okay, so activism. I wasn't here last week, and I'll be honest, I've been so busy I didn't even have a chance to listen.
You know what? What we just said was basically last week's show, so don't worry.
Okay.
We just did a reprise of last week. Now we can start this week's show.
Okay. Well, I think it is important that we talk about, activism and what we know about activism, and, we definitely need to cover the St. Paul Principles today if we're going to talk about activism, because that to me is such an important part of the equation.
Do you have them in front of you right now?
I'm pulling them up right now, so I have them on my laptop. Where the hell did I put that again?
You can mute while you're talking to yourself.
Yeah, but is that entertaining? Okay, I've got them.
Okay,
I've got them here.
So I know we have we've done shows, your show and one of these shows or two, about the St. Paul Principles. Michelle Gross talked about them on your show too, and so did what Andrew Henderson, the Drooks.
Yep.
Yeah, they both talked about those. So they're really awesome. Can you just go through what they are real quick for everybody who doesn't know?
Yeah, and I'll give a little bit of background on them too. It was the lead up to the RNC in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is why they're called the St. Paul Principles. A lot of different activist organizations were going to be active and present, and these different activist groups came together because they wanted to make sure that they didn't step on each other's toes, that they didn't trip each other up, this sort of thing, that everybody got to say what they needed to say and not in the process disrespect or fuck with anybody else's plans or message. So the St. Paul Principles were born, and they're four simple principles, but I mean there was a long discussion and a lot of figuring this out to come to these four principles, and they're beautiful. The four principles are before I go into that, I should explain the result of them. Afterwards there were some arrests, and some people were getting some pretty heavy charges, some anarchists, and these St. Paul Principles brought the entire activist community together, even people who were ideologically on a different page, and everybody stood behind them, and it really changed the outcome there. So everybody listening, I encourage you, think about these and practice these, because this is how it works, and everybody can be in there, and you get more numbers. And the 4 St. Paul principles. The first is, our solidarity will be based on respect for a diversity of tactics and the plans of other groups. Number 2, the actions and tactics will be organized to maintain a separation of time or space. Number 3, any debates or criticisms will stay internal to the movement, avoiding any public or media denunciations of fellow activists and events. Number 4, we oppose any state repression of dissent, including surveillance, infiltration, disruption, and violence. We agree not to assist law enforcement actions against activists and others. So those are the 4, and let's go through them one by one and discuss them a little. What do you say, guys?
Definitely.
Okay. Number 1, our solidarity will be based on respect for a diversity of tactics and the plans of other groups. And I think the key word on here is respect for a diversity of tactics. You know,
That's important.
It's very important, because you see this all the time. Activists who are saying, well, those people over there, what they're doing is wrong, you know. No, what they're doing is not for you. You know, Jeremy Hammond had a great quote. He said, there is a time for public forums and, you know, civil debate, and there's a time for the Molotov cocktail and the baseball bat. Situations are always different. Situations are always changing. The Dakota Access Pipeline situation was a much different situation from, say, Ferguson, even though there were a lot of similarities. You know, one was in a rural space, one was urban. In one, there was a lot of, it was harder for live streaming and for people to see what was actually happening on the ground. Whereas in Ferguson, you had a lot of live streams coming up. These made these 2 situations different. And so it made, consequently, the appropriate response different.
Yep.
And it also points to the need for humility. I don't have all the answers. And Glenn, you don't have all the answers. And Tim, you don't have all the answers. I think we all have valid points. But at the end of the day, none of us really know what the exact right answer is. We're just doing the best we can with the information we have.
Yeah.
Well, I think principle number 1 here, I mean, I think this is just trying to get people to realize, I mean, of course it's related to the picture of dissent and rebellion that's been going on for centuries. There are some things about it that are never going to change because people are involved. That's going to remain constant. But the thing that I really hear in this one is even go back a decade when Anonymous started to go beyond trolling and discover that they have a political voice and political weight. And even at that time, it was understood that you didn't have to believe everything that somebody or a group stood for. It was okay to pick and choose. So if you agree with something, ally with them, support them. If you don't agree with it, don't contribute to their effort. But you do not come out and say, yeah, that's bullshit what those guys are doing. They're fucked. I don't know what they're talking about. That's got nothing to do with what we're all about. As soon as that starts coming into the picture,
Yeah.
it's a downhill situation, you know? And I mean, we have to face it, I think, in this day and age, with the way messaging is delivered. A lot of people bitch about it, but the reason it's happening is because it works. You know, corporations want to make more money, and they push this advertising down your throat. You may think it sucks, you may turn it off, but look at the numbers. It's working. They're making money. So, I mean, that's the world we're in. And you can't fight that, because if this aggressive, offensive advertising model wasn't working, we wouldn't be seeing it. So, you know, you have to adjust to the rules of the game when in Rome. But I think that's a very, very huge issue, right in this first principle. You don't have to treat this like a cult, which is being suggested by far too many sides in the issues today. If you like what we're saying, great. Talk to us, we'll talk to you, we'll see what we can do. If you don't agree with what we're saying, well, okay. We respect you not agreeing with us, but we ask you to respect us for believing what we believe, and don't go shit on us because we're not on your team.
Yeah.
You know what? Oh, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I was just going to say, another big part of this is, the diversity of tactics and the plans of other groups. Oh, that's number 2. Go ahead, Tim.
No, I was going to say, yeah. Well, the thing is, it usually hits the more hardcore people the hardest, because everyone goes against, like, anti-fascist or something. Everyone, not everybody, but a whole bunch of people kind of get on the sides. I mean, it works in two ways. Online, you have one situation, and you have in real life, like at a protest. And online, so what? You can block people or mute people or do whatever. And some people take their disagreements way too far, I think. But that's the drama that's online, and you can kind of try to steer clear of that a lot.
Yep.
But in real life, you have 2 or 3 big sponsored groups, like you'll have the Democrats and the RevComs and something else. I mean, at a huge protest. A smaller protest is one of these groups. But you definitely have this group who's trying to hand their signs out and get their message heard and promote their thing and raise funds for their whatever under the guise of protesting. And then you have people that are out there on their own. They just want to be peaceful and sing and kumbaya and smoke weed or do whatever like it's 1960 something and in the movies. And then you have people that's out there to really just go all out against whatever it is. If it's the police had murdered somebody or a bunch of Nazis at a rally or something, you're the people that want to go hard. And it's always the people that want to go hard that everyone turns against. Like, this isn't for the people singing Kumbaya in a tent smoking weed across the street or dressed like Jedis with lightsabers fighting in front of the police. It's not for them dudes, because everybody just laughs at them or says, oh, that's stupid or silly or whatever. It's the dudes trying to rush through the lines and trying to get their message heard by any means necessary are usually the ones that everybody tends to go against. You know what I mean? The more militant people in the crowd.
Exactly. If you don't like what someone's doing, just don't participate. It's so easy, Go do your own thing. I haven't been to any of these Antifa protests because, sometimes property damage happens that's not corporate, and I'm not into that, so I don't go to those things. It doesn't mean I oppose Antifa. I appreciate what they're trying to do. Their ways are a little different from mine. That's all. That's you just have that mindset. That's the mindset you need to have right there.
Sometimes property damage is done that is corporate, though, and I'm perfectly fine with that, too.
Oh, me too. Of course, I can't participate in any of that either because I'm 7 foot tall, and even if I mask up, I mean, come on. Property damage is just not an option for me.
Tie your shoes on your knees and run on your knees. Oh man.
But yeah.
But that's that. Yeah. I mean that I know that rule right there saved the anarchists in St. Paul because people stood by them that might not have without having seen that and read it and agreed to it. You know.
Oh my God, law enforcement was pissed. The local newspapers were pissed. Everybody was pissed. They were like, we cannot crack this nut. You know, the activist community was tight. They stood together.
I mean, imagine if you had the numbers in all these different situations where you could outnumber the oppressors or outnumber the Nazis or the police and just win and take over the ground and say, this is ours. You're not coming back. That's great. That's great.
Well, it's been done probably a couple hundred times in the last 10 years in Mexico. We just don't hear about it a whole lot.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's great. Everybody like so. If the anarchists win, the oppression's gone. Why are you arguing with these cats? Let them do what they want to do. And if they lose, they go to jail anyway, or even worse, they might get killed. They're risking everything. Some people are just risking, typing on a keyboard, which is great. It's needed. It's helpful, but these cats are out there risking everything, some of them. So it's like, support them. You don't have to do what they're doing. Like, going online and bashing them. That's how it works online. People just talk really bad and put out so much negative propaganda about any anarchist group or even, socialist or communist groups. Like, I don't agree with everything that they believe, and they don't agree with everything I believe, but that's who does. I work with who I can work with, and if like we were talking about a specific group earlier, Glenn, before the show. I don't know if Steve was on yet. And I had issues with them. I had issues with the main people, their leaders. They were a group with leaders, and they were hypocrites. They were claiming to be communists, but they were millionaires, and they didn't really care about anything but making money through this, movement for themselves. So what kind of communists were they? You know what I mean?
Oh, there's a lot of that going on these days.
Yeah. So, stuff like that, I'll call it out. Because they're not activists. They're not in the streets with anybody. They're out there raising funds. That's what they do.
Well, if we're going to talk a little bit about the other side of what these principles are supposed to be enshrining, I think we have to recognize that the St. Paul principles are well known to deep state, to the powers that be. They know exactly what they have to prevent happening to help guarantee status quo. That's another thing that, maybe it's because I'm an old son of a bitch, but I really find it kind of empty that with all the effort that is put in on organizing new civil disobedience, civil protest, legal protest. The methods are alive in this day and age. It could be a lot worse in the United States if there weren't groups that were doing this, but they are. So that's good. But the issue I have is everything's been so Balkanized. I call it Balkanized because of the Balkans for a reason. At one time, all these protesters with different mindsets, I'm not going to call it agenda, I'm going to call it mindsets, could gather and discuss common ideas. And the stuff that they were like opposite ends of the spectrum on, everybody had the decency and the efficiency to keep it to themselves. Let's just talk about what we can work on. Okay, we're done, we'll see ya. Then when everybody breaks up, they go into their separate groups and say, holy fuck, those guys were there. You know what they believe? Holy fuck. But they didn't waste anybody's common time doing it. And
Yeah, I think that's the second principle right there. This might be a good way to bring it in.
you know, and I mean, the state is very aware of that, and they remember what happened over Vietnam. And they've been working since then to make sure that there's not that kind of unity again. And they're doing a good job.
Wait, before we go off this subject all the way, can I ask you guys a question? This is about a tactic. And I'm hearing
Yes.
people on both sides. I'm not going to say what I agree with yet until I hear what you guys say, or I just will give my opinion. But I was listening earlier to the radio at work, and they were talking about this awards show that happened this last weekend. And
Yep.
I guess all these famous celebrity people, I don't know who's who or what's what in that really. But they came, and a lot of them brought activists with them, quote unquote. I don't know who these people were. I mean, some of them, I guess, were activists. No, I'm saying, and then they went through, and then they said on the show that they didn't want to. What they did was they brought awareness without ruining people's award night. You know, for being honored for the great artwork they're doing or whatever it was actors and actresses and stuff. So I guess some people say, oh, that's great. They gave these activists a voice, and they got to go and mingle with all the rich and famous people and spread their story, you know, and make people look good and whatever. And then there's another group that says, why didn't the activists say, you know, if they have the night and they have the mic and the cameras and the world watching them, why wouldn't they say, hey, all you rich people, why are you sitting your asses down in these chairs? There's homeless people right outside. Let's get out and give them like millions. Let's go start feeding everybody. Let's just go hit these streets right now, or something. You know what I mean? Just going along with the whole thing with this industry that gives money to all these people. A lot of sexual predators probably were sitting in that room. I mean,
Well, I think
these
I
people
think
get
you're-
paid. These people get paid more than doctors and teachers and, you know, important people. They get paid way more just to pretend to be somebody else.
I think the point you're bringing up is really valid, Tim. And you know, like you, I always get suspicious when money and activism meet. You know, I just tend to expect the worst. Now, I'm looking at the situation though, and you know, sometimes if you just come in front of a new audience, all guns blazing, all you're going to do is cause their eyes to glaze over and them to tune out. You know, it's kind of like the metaphor of the two bulls standing on the hill looking down at a pasture full of cows. And the son says, hey, Dad, let's run down there and fuck one of them cows. And the dad says, no, son, let's walk down there and fuck them all. You know, it's...
You saw Colors.
Yes, I did. I loved that movie, by the way. That is one of my all-time favorite movies. But you know, I mean, I think that's what it is. I think the intention was there, and I think there was just kind of taking that approach. You know, if you come in too strong, all you're going to do is these people are just going to like run shrieking away. So come in slow, give them the message in you know, bite-sized pieces, and it's a slower way, and I'm not saying it's any more likely to work than the other way, but it's just as valid, at least.
Well, you got people online I saw arguing over these two things. Like, I mean, the way I see it like it's a double-edged sword, I guess. It's good and bad, kind of like what you said, Steve. But I think about it like the actors and actresses, they gain popularity and get more people probably paying money to them for what they do and going to see their movies or whatever it is they do, buying their albums. from a different audience than they might have had before. And the activists get known for a short time, and they get media coverage to say something, probably a soundbite of what they want to say that they wouldn't necessarily get. So those are the good sides. But the bad side is nothing ever really gets done, and these rich people just get richer, and it seems like they're making money off the back of these activists. But, just real quick, but that being said,
yeah.
Why argue about that and dispute it online so hardcore? Where, like, you know what I mean? Is it really something that serious where people are gonna go crazy over? It just seems like that's just the thing. It's a diversity of tactic. Sometimes you have to just say, yeah, whatever they're doing, I may think it's silly, I may think it's awesome, I may think it's whatever, but
I think that's the biggest obstacle
to
the movement is armchair activism. We have too many people, sitting there pontificating about, oh, that was a bad idea, you shouldn't have done that, Well, get out there and do it your way. Just shut the fuck up, fucking get off the computer, go do your shit your way. Or if your way has to do with the computer, fine, but just stop fucking telling people how to fucking protest and go fucking protest the way you think is effective.
Yeah, I mean I think that would be awesome if they did it like the sale at the gas stations across the street. They dropped the price lower and lower to try to outdo the other one. So yeah, like one group has their action and does whatever they do and gets a big crowd. The next group's like, screw that, they did it wrong. I'm gonna show them how to do it. My crowd's gonna be bigger. Then they say, no, we're going to go out there. And pretty soon the whole city's out there, and they just got to be together anyway. That's how we do it.
Exactly.
And they can just take their side and be peaceful, and the other people can take their side and, do what has to be done. And everybody's happy in the end. Except the city, hopefully.
Yeah. Why don't I lead us into number 2? Because we've been touching on it. Oh, what's that?
I didn't get a shot at this one.
Oh,
I thought you did. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll make it short.
Thank you.
People who want to lobby, present using that method, fine. I think this is part of a bigger problem of false equivalency. In my opinion, if you are going to cooperate with this awards show, you're not an activist, you're a reformer. If you're an activist, you protest the show, you fuck up the red carpet. That's activism. Agreeing to be fit into their program is a reformer.
I like that.
And that's pretty much all I got to say on that.
I agree. But at the same time, it's like, it doesn't affect me either way that these people are doing this. So why go crazy online and start, you know what I mean? Let them do their thing. If they're spreading some awareness, oh well. Yes. I mean, if I was, I wouldn't be there. Like, I wouldn't want to be in an award show to save my life, much less, that would be a living hell. And then have to, it's disgusting. What are these people doing? I mean, how much do their janitors in the different studios get paid? How much do their food service workers get paid? I bet you it's not above $20 an hour for most of them. Oh no, definitely not. Yeah, but the actors and actresses and directors and they do have good unions, for people with skills in the movie industry. And that's, when you're in a certified cinematography trade, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but the actors and actresses and directors, these people are just getting millions of dollars because of their name. And these people are going to see their movies. And how much is the movie ticket? Either one of you guys know? I know it's a lot of money now. It's not $5 anymore, is it? No. Yeah, I think it's
No,
like
it's
probably 12 or $10, or it's ridiculous. It's a lot of money, maybe more.
yeah,
And geez, like, why not just pay everybody a little bit less? Spread the money down, let everybody else get paid, and you could even knock the price of the tickets down. Or if you leave them up, then yeah, pay your food service workers and janitors at the studios more. It just
I'm
Doesn't happen.
I'm all for that. If I had a studio, I'd run it that way. But
I worked at Fox Studios a lot of years ago, building these film vaults downstairs that they had for the old reel films, and they just had these vaults would turn and move out, so it was almost like a library of old film. And yeah, we weren't getting paid. We were getting paid like just construction low end. I think it was back then. It was like $12 an hour, which was kind of cool back then. It would be like equivalent to maybe what 15 or 17 is now, maybe. But that's still not a livable wage.
yeah,
Doing construction, lifting heavy shit all day, man. Yeah,
right.
but the people in the offices were all millionaires and billionaires, and the people that were going in and out of these different buildings were all super wealthy. It just seems
Yeah.
like they're all over there saying, I don't know. I agree with Glenn 100%. It's just I don't know if it should be dividing activists online, arguing about this. That's all. And I guess the argument would be if they're arguing for the awards people, then they're not true activists. But some people have different views, and they still do a lot of good work. So I don't know.
Right. Well,
Number two?
number two, yes, because we've kind of touched on this. We talk about when you go to a protest and you have these people who want to like smoke up and sing Kumbaya, and you have these big organizations that are, raising funds and selling T-shirts and what have you, and then you have, collecting petition signatures, that sort of thing. You have the diehard activists who want to rush the police line, and so what do you do when you have all these
Hey, what
people
more we miss? You always got the guy.
that want to, protesting the same thing, and that's where number two comes into play. The actions and tactics will be organized to maintain a separation of time or space. You communicate with the other factions. Okay, what are you doing? Where are you doing it? When are you doing it? Oh, okay, you're doing that there. Then we're going to be over here doing this thing that we do. And you make a clear division so that that group over there can deal with whatever consequences or benefits they get from their action, and you deal with whatever consequences or benefits you get from their action. You don't go in and try to change the direction of their shit. They don't come and try to change the direction of your shit.
Yeah, the one problem with that one, Steve, in my opinion, is it's not even a problem if groups would work together like publicly, because not every group wants to publicly say what they're doing. But that group, to abide by that, would need to know what the other groups that have permits and are public already are doing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they shouldn't pressure the group that doesn't need to be public with what they're doing. They should say, this is what we're doing. Hope you give us the time and space before you or after you do what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it, and I mean, this right here is such a huge thing too, because it allows everybody to express themselves in their own way, and it also allows for a sense of unity in the activist community, because nobody's stepping on each other's toes, nobody's fucking up somebody's course of action, nobody is undoing, maybe months of planning. It's just all around good policy. If I don't like what a group is doing at a protest and I'm going to show up, I stay clear of them and I do my own thing somewhere else.
And just for the rank amateurs out there, we're not talking about like if Nazis are protesting, saying we're going to give them time and space. We're talking about all the counter protesters to the Nazis.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make that super duper clear.
Yeah. Nazis are never cool. If you think Nazis are cool, go to any veteran cemetery and reflect on all the people who are in there because they wound up there protecting us from the people, Nazis, who are now trying to fly their flags on our streets.
Look up concentration camps. See what those people went through.
Yeah.
That's the Nazis for you.
We're definitely not talking. I mean, Nazis might as well be the government. You know, they want the same thing as the government. They want to oppress.
They were the government. Literally.
Yeah. Yep. So.
Fascism is fascism. It might be called different things, but it's always fascism.
Yep.
You should know. You did the 14 tenets of fascism.
Oh, yes. Yes, I did. So, but yeah, just, Glenn, your thoughts on this?
In this one, I see a little bit of a double meaning in it, because I think about what it takes from the organizations to be able to follow the second principle. And the first thing I think of is, now maybe it's my bias, but I find this to be especially evident these days for right-wing, alt-right groups. The leadership of these groups are known. The group basically isn't. So these are people who are using their quote-unquote movement basically as a publicity vehicle. We've seen this, how many times? With Posobiec, with all of them.
Spencer.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it with all of them.
Clarify to the listeners real quick. When Glenn says alt-right, he means Nazis. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm using the terminology that society's using, so I'm just trying to identify as precisely as I can, even though it's a misnomer. But, so that's what I see from those groups. But what Principle 2 tells me is your group, your fundamental reason for being here has to be more than a publicity vehicle. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to fit in here. Because where it says each group will know what the other group's doing to the extent that we're not on top of each other and we're not contradictory. And to do that, there has to be some actual cooperation as groups, not individuals. If you get 5 Richard Spencers in a trailer before a protest to decide what's going to happen, guess what happens? Chaos. So, I think Principle 2 is kind of a qualifier going forward.
It's kind of realistic here. I mean, at least in LA, because like I said, you have this one big group. Like, let's just take the November 4th Refuse Fascism big day where everybody was all tripping for a while. They had permits and they had police that they had out there to lead the way of their march. So they were being led by fascists, claiming to refuse fascism, number one. But then it was all these people, but then you have other people that came just on their own accord because there was a protest and they weren't necessarily with the group. Then you had the anti-fascist cats that showed up because a group of Nazis showed up across the street and the police were dividing the street, and then they had another group of police surrounded to protect the Nazis. But I'm saying, like, the anarchists knew what Refuse Fascism was supposed to do. But Refuse Fascism didn't know that the anarchists were going to be there, right? So
Right.
they kept coming around saying, "Oh, stop doing this, stop saying that, don't do this," because they conceded to the police. And I was saying, and others were saying too, it wasn't just me, we were saying, you know what, screw that, march through the police, march through the Nazis, refuse fascism. There's like 800 people here, 500 people here, there's 40 of them, and there's maybe 200 police, let's just go through them. Stop doing that. What?
That's activism. That's fucking activism.
And they're like, no. So they eventually left us and went on the police route the other way. They didn't even march the way they were supposed to. And then the police opened up the streets with horses and motorcycles and let the Nazis all have a march they didn't even plan for that day.
See, that's what I mean exactly. Anybody who acquiesces to authority like that because, ooh, things might be getting scary, you can't call yourself an activist. You're a fucking reformer. That's all you are.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Activism is scary shit, and it's not as glamorous as
No.
it's made out to be. And nobody gets paid by George Soros, and people who do activism, they actually have other shit they could be doing. They're not there because they want to be. They're there because they feel they have to be. It's not, no, you're absolutely right.
You know what, Steve? That's something important, what you said. Activism is scary shit. That's real, man. And I'm going to tell you, like, for anybody that's never been out there and thinking about going out there, do it. But just know it's not going to be a pleasant experience. It never is. You're going to be surrounded by police and they're going to have in some cases, snipers on rooftops above your heads. Helicopters everywhere, FBI. You don't know who's who in the crowd. You know what I mean? And it's intense. And it's scary.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to be a warrior sometimes.
Yep.
It's not. Sometimes they'll gas families with children, like they did at May Day here in LA a few years back. They don't care. They don't care. These police will beat you. They'll run you over with their motorcycle. They'll break your ribs. They'll arrest you for nothing.
Yeah, all those things you see on the news and in the more mainstream media of these like police being restrained and showing showing restraint and being friendly and being respectful of the protesters' rights. Yeah, I've been to a couple protests where that happened, not for reasons that they wanted to be, let me assure you. But a lot of times, what's going on, the image you are given of police response and the actual police response are two completely different things. If you're thinking of getting into activism, you need to understand that's what's up.
Look at the Million Mass March in LA. There was a small group of us, 14 maybe, or 18, I don't know. But there was, it's so freaking cold here. I'm shaking. But the police and the feds were out there in numbers. They outnumbered us easily 10, 12 to 1. They had buildings surrounded. They had cars flying all over the place. They had people watching us from everywhere. For just a few people out there, that's stressful and it's nerve-wracking. Then when you leave, you got FBI following your car.
Mm-hmm.
It's insanity. They're taking pictures of you. They on rooftops for 14 people.
And what you said about nerve-wracking, Tim, is so on point because they actually orchestrate shit to be that way. They orchestrate their response and the appearance of their response. They work hard to make you scared. That is one of the things they are working to do.
Okay.
Could I? Oh, go ahead, Glenn. Sorry.
Could I just jump in for 1 second here and ask you two American citizens if you realize where all the field study for this sort of law enforcement was done?
Israel.
Counterinsurgency,
Occupied.
Iraq.
Oh, Iraq. Oh, I thought the certain police departments are going to occupied Palestine to get training.
That's for their training. But I mean, with the FBI and DHS, with surveillance and intimidation in your face, we're watching you bullshit, like the DEA is famous for. That's exactly what the U.S. Army did to everybody in Iraq. That's where they learned.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these police here in the streets, that's where they came from, was the Iraq War, Afghanistan.
That's right.
They think they're still soldiers in a war. That's how they act anyway.
Well, that's almost what they're told.
I mean, think about that guy in that video with that, and it was a white guy. He had the cop had a white guy down, and that's rare. but he had his gun aimed, and he's like, cross your legs. We talked about this last week. He went through all these orders. Like, that's how they mess with people overseas, because they don't care. They're going to kill them anyway. Just give them stupid orders, mock them, laugh at them. They're sick.
That's right. Oh, yeah. There was a scene exactly like that, a famous scene in the movie Platoon. The exact same thing. Dance for me, boy, dance for me. And then you kill him anyway,
Yep.
Sickness.
Yep.
It really is.
Oh.
Any other thoughts on number 2 there?
No, I think it's something to strive for.
Yeah.
Cool.
What's number 3?
Number 3, any debates or criticisms will stay internal to the movement, avoiding any public or media denunciations of fellow activists and events. Newsflash, people, the media is not on the side of the activists. There are a few independent outlets that are willing to treat activists fairly, but for the most part, the media has no interest in doing that, and if 2 activist groups are fighting, the media will swoop in on that and use it to paint a very ugly narrative of all activists. You need to handle your shit in private.
You know what it's like? It's like when 2 of these Nazi or white supremacist groups start fighting amongst each other, like it's happened in the recent past. I enjoy the crap out of that. I love seeing them crumble and go after each other. But what happens is when it's on the other side, I hate it. When I start seeing it, I just see people start arguing. You know what I mean? And I've seen literal almost going to fist fights in the street over 2 different activists talking about, we're going to go this way, we're going to go this way. And these guys are both 2 different leaders of these different groups. And I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. Can't you just go both ways? And but they have the permits. They only have so much time. You got, you're on a permit. You're on the cops' time. And when they tell you it's time to go, you go. I've been screamed. That's another thing. I mean, I had a woman, the one with the megaphone, with the loudest voice, which was fine up until the time we kicked in the police tape and started going up, and everyone was behind us. Stop. The police say they don't want you up there. Well, obviously they had tape. We ripped it down. You can't go up there. If you do that, we'll leave. So leave. And then she told all her people to leave, and it left just a few of us left. And I'm like, why are they supporting these people, man? They Democrats. Always upsets me. Democrats come with the guys of so many different groups. What? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, she didn't have to leave. She just could have taken her people and backed up a half block or a block. So clearly separated from you guys. That's all she had to do.
Yeah, there was like 80, 90, maybe 100 people that day or something. There's quite a few people. But most of them were in that group with her, and then there was just a bunch of stragglers like me and maybe 15, 20 others that were not with her. We showed up to support the group. I don't remember the name of the group. I haven't heard of them since. It was some kind of anti-police group at the time. Who, once again, anti-police group, anti-police brutality. We're out here because the police killed somebody, but the police said it's time to go.
Yeah.
You're protesting now. You tell them when it's time to go, not the other way around. What do you need a permit for? You got to go to the police to get a permit to protest the police? It don't make no sense to me.
Well, if her group had been interested in respecting number 3 of the St. Paul principles, what would have happened is she would have just pulled her people back so they were clearly separated from you guys, and then later on, she would have gotten a hold of you, and she would have said, hey, this happened, these are the issues I had, I want to talk about them. In private. Don't argue it out there where these fucking TV cameras are for stations that are most likely owned by fucking the government for all practical purposes, just waiting to see that shit and exploit it.
But dude, these were the same people that day talking about Christopher Dorner was the only good cop LAPD ever had. Fuck the police. You know what I'm saying? The only good cop is a dead cop. But then leave. How you talking out? You got your people talking all this crap on the microphone.
Okay, this is exactly like the phenomenon.
It's a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. This is exactly like the phenomenon. As everybody knows, in the last 20 years, all these charitable fun runs and 5K runs and all this stuff has popped up and become an industry. They all have a charity, they all have big corporate sponsors, and you have to pay to run in this race so everybody gets warm fuzzies. But what changed was they weren't getting enough people in these races just for the spirit of it. So they started including, you get a t-shirt, you get a backpack, and then they doubled or tripled the entrance price, and the shit went through the ceiling. And now everybody's making money, and everybody loves it. That's what this fuck the police group, that's the type of people they are.
And you know what?
Yeah.
Fine if they want to be that way. That's totally cool. I'm not gonna sit here and criticize them. I'll say that that's not how I would go about it. But I'm not gonna criticize them. I'm just gonna be like, but I am gonna criticize the fact that they tried to argue with you about what you were doing and try to tell you what to do. That was wrong.
Yeah, they left us high and dry, surrounded by police that outnumbered us.
Yeah, that's bullshit, man.
But the whole thing was, like, the police looked at us as weak after that. Why is she arguing on the megaphone? You know what I mean? Why are these two guys fighting in the street about which way to go?
Yep.
I mean, if you see either one of them, they both look like the typical standard hippie, white hippie with round glasses and John Lennon looking guys. So it's like, why are they fighting? They should be like peace, love, and happiness. Let's go both ways.
Well, you know what? You know what, though? Because this involves people and human nature, it's probably over some chick at Monterey in 1973.
Right.
It could have been over something other than maybe it was some ego stuff or something. Like online has
yeah.
the egos, offline has the egos too in the real world. That's where
yeah,
egos,
especially in the activist community, because there are people who are considered field commanders. They all know each other.
Yeah, I think if just this is just what I think. I know I'm not speaking for anyone else probably, but I think if everyone went out there saying, I'm going to do exactly what the hell I want to do. And I know that everyone else is going to be out there doing exactly what the hell they want to do. And I'm not following anyone and no one's going to follow me. Or, if someone wants to go along with what I'm doing, they're not following me. They're at my side doing whatever I'm doing. That's great. Or if I see somebody doing something I'm with, and I'll go and do that, take part in that. And that's kind of like, you want to talk about democracy. Isn't that the most democratic way to do it? Do whatever the hell you want to do and be your own leader?
Well, that's great. I agree with that. But I mean, the entire weight of society is going the other way. You have to be on a team. Where were all these so-called Nazis that turned out for the Wikitorch marches? Where were they one at a time? They didn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, crowds are the way to incite whatever direction you want to go, man. And, you know, obviously, I guess the point of the game is to rile people up. So you need groups. That allows people to be stupid without fear. Groups.
Oh, you need to outnumber them. But I've been in cases where it was a small, tiny little town with 60,000 people plus, outnumbering the cops. No National Guard there yet. Outnumbering the whole town, basically. You know, there was a town of like 700 people or something. And they brought in an extra 100 cops. And I'm saying 60,000 people. Had the whole police courthouse, everything surrounded in a circle. You couldn't even move in or out. Like the whole town from side to side was all people. And we like, let's just rush these fools. And one of the groups who you would say would be the most militant got up on the microphone. We're not here for violence. We're not here for violence. Stay back. I mean, the cops were so nervous. We had all the power. All the white cops stepped to the back. They pushed the black cops out in front, like, so we wouldn't attack them.
Yep.
Because the majority of the group of people was black in this protest. And the black cops looked terrified. Someone even had little signs, so we support you, holding them up, looking all terrified. They knew. But this one group got up there, one of the bigger groups, and dispersed everything, man. They could have taken control of the whole town. They could have freed the dude that was arrested for being threatened with being lynched. You know what I mean?
Yep. And then again, you know, I look at what's happened, like I said, lots of times in the last 5, 6, 8 years in Mexico. Peasants arm themselves and they take over the police and they put all the cops in jail.
Boom. It's beautiful.
You know? And
it's probably harder in a big city, though, of course, but it could be done. You just need enough people.
Yeah.
Well, that's just it. In Mexico, these guys are doing it with relatively small numbers. These are just people who are pissed off. And it's like, that's it.
They're not taking down huge police forces. They're taking out small cities, correct? Like towns, villages.
Yeah.
That's
for now,
saying.
Yeah.
Like, imagine doing that in Los Angeles. It's going to be a much bigger task.
Yeah.
Your task.
Well, the LAPD has a bigger budget than some countries' armies.
And I have the same weaponry as some countries' armies, too.
That's right.
That is very true.
But here, unlike Canada, we have a lot of weaponry, too, amongst the people. If everyone united, we give them at least a run for their money.
This is true. I practice samurai martial arts, and we have a saying, my enemy is my teacher, or my opponent is my teacher. And we activists can actually learn a lot from police, from observing them at these events. And if we do observe them, one thing we will notice right away is you never see the police arguing among themselves, commanders arguing among themselves about which way to handle this or whatever. You never see that. Of course these debates happen. I think we should do it this way. I think we should do it this way. My idea is better, and so on. But you never see it. And that's part of why the police presence is always so terrifying, because they are very unified in their presentation. Even if you have different law enforcement agencies, when you see them out there together, they are together, and if they're not together, they're working separately, but they are never debating or arguing or criticizing each other in a fashion that anybody can see.
Well,
And it works.
they're trained monkeys that follow orders and do what they're told. The top people give them commands on their little radios, and they just do what they're told on a line of rank succession or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
I
But
wouldn't,
the
I wouldn't,
parents,
I wouldn't join any group that work like that, where you have people that are telling other people what to do, and they don't do the same thing. No, like,
have you
I'm
ever
more.
seen commanders yelling at each other? No, I want to
Oh
do it
no,
this way with my
yeah,
guys. You've never seen that, you know? And if we didn't have that going on ever, our presence would be a lot more intimidating.
yeah. I mean, that's yeah. Like the infighting makes people look so weak, and it amuses your opponent as well.
Yes.
They can
Police
sit
have a
back
lot to
and
teach
watch you
us.
self-destruct. What?
Police have a lot to teach us. They are out there at every event with their tactics on display for us to study and learn from. I
Yeah,
think we should do more of that. But they definitely illustrate how number 3 in the St. Paul Principles works.
yeah. The thing about the police is the more you're out there, the more you'll see how they are. They have tactics that they use frequently. Sometimes they'll do things a little differently, but the more you're out there, and if you just watch them, it's good to have somebody to keep safe. To to watch out. Sorry, my phone. It's good to have somebody watching the police out there, or a lot of people. Say, hey, they're moving over here, doing this, they're doing this, so you know what they're doing. And from
Yep.
experience, you say if they're doing this, they're probably ending up trying to do this, and if we're doing this, we can counteract them like this. And yeah, you can learn a lot from them, but you have to watch them a lot. You have to see how they act and how they do things the same all the time, but they'll add little twists. But if you're out there enough, you'll see what they're doing. You're saying, oh, they're starting to kettle us. We need to spread out and do something, or oh, they're going to do this, and you try to combat. You can't always win, but they always have a trick up their sleeve. But you can at least try to thwart their efforts as much as possible.
Yep. Um,
Number
any other
four,
thoughts on 3?
no, number four, I guess.
Number 4. We oppose any state repression of dissent, including surveillance, infiltration, disruption, and violence. We agree not to assist law enforcement actions against activists and others. And we saw this on display in the aftermath of the RNC. Those people avoided a really grim fate because everybody agreed, hey, whether I agree with your platform, whether I agree with your ideology, whether I agree with, we are both on the same side opposing the government and opposing local government, federal government, whatever. And we need to stand behind each other. They are counting on us sticking to our own little cliques and not supporting other activist organizations. They are counting on that, and we need to never give them that.
Yeah, you have. I remember during the J20 thing, there were actual liberal people, not just the right wing people, that were saying, "Oh, they burned a limousine that belonged to some guy, and he has insurance. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yep.
Who cares? They burned a limousine. It's a material object. They didn't hurt anybody. It's not violence. They make it sound
Right.
like they were trying to charge him with all kinds of crazy stuff. It's not violence. There's nothing. I think it was. It's not even a riot if everyone doesn't jump in. It's just destruction of property. Like,
Right.
to just charge people with what they would charge them if they were just walking down the street and did it. Trying to add all these extra charges, and you got people that want the same outcome a lot of these other people. In the end, their end goal is pretty much the same, they're going to go against them and call them violent and this and that for burning stuff and trashing some windows. So what? The police are out there murdering people. The government are out there. You talk about property damage. Go look in the Middle East what we've done to these countries with bombs. Property damage. How come no one's complaining about that? It's fucking hypocrisy, man. Bust a couple windows, burn a limo, and you're the worst thing in the world. But as said so by the people that are bombing countries, blowing up hospitals with kids in them. The fuck out of here!
I know it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But I think it's important for people to realize that law enforcement's victory against that particular activist group over there that you don't really like could be law enforcement's victory against you tomorrow. I mean, when it comes down to dealing with government suppression of activists, it is so important that we all put our differences aside and not let them get any of us.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a firm supporter and believer of snatching people back from the police and hiding out people before they deport them and trying to stop them and blocking off and confusing anybody trying to deport somebody. Like militant tactics, desperate times call for desperate measures. They're literally kidnapping people off the streets. Of course you're supposed to try to stop that by any and all means necessary, to quote the great Malcolm X. It's ridiculous, man. How these people don't see this? We're in a war that we're not even fighting. We don't even know what's happening.
From my perspective, I see similarities to the Underground Railroad is what is starting to be set up to deal with the Gestapo ICE issue.
Yeah, it has to be something like that. It's ridiculous. These people are sick. These are human beings. I don't understand oh my gosh, like how is anybody? I just can't comprehend this whole race thing, man. Like,
well,
white people are superior, everybody else can suffer, and it doesn't bother us one bit. How do people think like that? Blows my mind. I can't even comprehend it.
Well, there is one parallel that's harsh, but in the bigger picture, it's accurate. And there is a term for these ICE seek and destroy teams that are out there now, and that would be the Einsatzgruppen. And those were the divisions of the SS that went behind the lines and just, checked out who everybody was.
Yeah.
Oh, you come with us. That's what I see this as.
You know what? One thing about news this week, before we go off, this motherfucker ex-sheriff Joe Arpaio is going to run for Senate, I'm hearing. He's like all the racism of Roy Moore, minus the pedophilia, but plus torture. So, yeah, they don't care about torture. They don't care about racism. I think the pedophilia just set him over, which is a good thing. Something needs to set him over. At least it's something pretty bad. But you could step it up a few notches and say, yeah, that's really bad. And maybe there's a few things like Nazis and dictators and stuff that are bad too. But no.
I'm just wondering if there's a sports book in Vegas that has the Arizona senator race. Because, Arizona, my God, like Jan Brewer wasn't enough. That's the state where Gabby Giffords was shot. I mean, Arizona is just fucking crazy, in my opinion.
Oh, it's a haven for Nazis.
I'd like there to be some sort of pool for who the next nominee for the Arizona Senate's going to be. Like maybe Chuck Woolery, Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent, there you go. That's somebody. Is Chuck Woolery a racist?
Oh, fuck. He is a psychopathic GOP bot.
Oh, is he? I thought he's a game show host, right? The game
Yeah,
show
he
host.
was. Yeah.
See, I would never think a game show host could be evil. That's how he tricks us. Damn deceiver. This is the first I've heard of this.
Yep. Well, come on, man. We know what happens when we elect a celebrity.
Okay, here, one more thing. One more tangent. American people, I speak to you right now. You're fucking idiots. What the hell? You got a billionaire in office right now, and he sucks. And now you're saying, hey, the Democrats can give us Oprah, and we'll put a billionaire in office, and all our problems will go away. The definition of insanity, as I told Steve the other night, is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Keep putting billionaires in office and rich people, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get bullshit. The same thing. Doesn't matter if they're Democrats or Republicans. Try a normal, everyday person with a job. Give him put these people into office.
No, Tim. This celebrity billionaire is different.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what is she going to give all her voters a car?
I vote. I don't.
You're going to sell your soul for a car? You're going to sell out your beloved country for a car? Go screw yourself.
I don't really
take the bus. It's cheaper.
Don't really love America much anyway. Ever since the cops beat me up, so
I'm talking to the Democrats and Republicans.
What kind of car are we talking here? Are we talking one of those Dodge Demons? Because if we are, it's done deal.
No, it won't be made in the U.S. That'll be the first thing.
This is going to be those Kias, isn't it?
Not sure I'm going to do it for a Kia.
This will be how the Indian auto sector gets its market in the U.S.
Okay, I'm trying to think.
Steve.
4 years of Oprah, a Kia, 4 years of Oprah, a Kia.
You wait, real quick. If you get the Kia and you open the back trunk, it's full of Weight Watcher promo items.
Dude, I'm 7 foot tall and 230 pounds. I don't need Weight Watchers.
But that's what Oprah promotes. I saw her commercial the other day on YouTube.
Okay, you see, this just brings it back to what I was saying earlier. When in Rome. Hollywood did this 50 years ago now. They don't have any new ideas. They just keep changing old ones and recycling them. So since Trump got elected, being a quote-unquote celebrity, well, we can mop the floor in that department. We got fucking Oprah.
Yeah, the last celebrity we had as president, the country kind of hasn't recovered from that. Now we got another one. These people don't learn. They're idiots. And you got
the point is,
what was I supposed to do? Vote for Hillary Clinton? No, you're supposed to vote for nobody, but just don't vote for either one of them. I don't get it. Why would you give either one of them scum your votes? You all suck, people. Every last one of you.
But you're suggesting that one of the two parties changed the way the game is played. That's way too hard. Takes way too much individual thought and balls.
Hey, these beautiful Democrats, you know what they did, Glenn? You're not from here, so you might not know. It might not hit the Canadian news. I know it takes longer for the internet wires to get over to you guys. but about, I think it was dozens of Democrats went along with the Republicans to give Trump more.
702.
What?
The 702 extension?
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
The saviors of the country, the Democrats, went right along with this, stealing our rights, right to privacy, basically, giving the government warrantless surveillance on us, basically, right?
Wow.
Did I say that wrong?
No, that's right. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to self-mute for about 5 minutes. I'll be back.
Okay, we're going to go on to number 4.
We already talked about number 4.
Did we? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we basically covered the St. Paul principles.
Oh, we did. It's only
So-
4. I don't know why I said 4. I'm so
Yeah.
tired, man.
Yep.
You get the reefer and you haven't slept in like a day because you've been working, and oh man, everything's a little bit off.
Struggle's real.
I'm a little more aggravated than usual today. I have a fussy puppy behind me, wiggling around. So yeah, but that is I don't get what people they so many people are Democrats. Democrats will save us. Democrats. The Democrats will do the same thing with a smile. Yeah, they might not be mean to a lot of groups, but which is a good thing, you know. Nobody should be persecuted or treated as less than anybody else, or discriminated against or anything like that. But not even a but. That should be standard for both parties. No one should do that. But besides that, which is a good thing, the Democrats are going to give you the same wars, the same crap, the same BS, and in many cases, the same kind of people, big, rich, corporate assholes, as the Republicans have. And why go for either? Because one's a little better. Like we've said before, it's the lesser of two evils, Steve. It's still evil. And I know Glenn, if he was here, he would say, vote anyway. Vote for another third-party candidate if you feel that one of them doesn't suck so bad that you can't, in your right conscience, vote for them. But if you're willing to vote for any of these two big evils, the smaller of those evils should be better than that, at least. But I think Glenn said just write in something else. You know, write in something so when the votes get counted, it shows a bigger, they won by a lesser margin, whoever won. Which is
Right.
cool. If you like, I told him when he said that I agree that if you're one of those people that feels compelled to vote, that's probably the best thing to do. I don't know if I'm one of those people right now.
I'm not.
They might talk me out of it later, but I doubt it. But unless they said, your vote counts. One person, one ballot. That's how we're gonna do it. And then they had somebody that wasn't wicked, or even if it was one person, one ballot, I'd probably vote. But it's not.
Right.
So yeah. Hang on, there's
Well-
a message here. Can you see it? Oh, hang on, let me see.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I see it.
So yeah, I guess we're gonna wrap it soon.
Yes, we are. I think
We just
I
been on
think
a
there's a
tangent.
lot.
We've been on a tangent for the last 20 minutes.
We do that.
Go
It's
ahead.
just
I cut you off.
you know.
I have a weird delay, so I can't even hear you. Right? I keep cutting people off because of that. But go ahead.
No, okay. I thought it was just because you hated me.
It's partially
Just
that.
jealous.
I just didn't want to
Just
say
jealous
it.
because I'm a giant.
I didn't want to say it live on air because of number 2, or was it number 3? I didn't want to
You
argue.
little people are always jealous of us giants. I understand.
You want to?
Okay, I'm going to jump.
Okay,
I'm
thanks.
going to
Glenn.
jump back in.
Oh, you're back
I'm going
in?
to jump back in. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you guys. Okay, thanks for the show. I got to split.
Okay, we'll talk to you
Okay.
soon.
Okay, thanks, guys. See you
All
later.
right, bye. We'll see. We were wrapping it, and Glenn had to go.
All right. Well, then it's
What were we saying before Glenn jumped in, or something?
I have no idea. I cannot remember.
I was gonna ask you if you want to talk about the way people treat giants, but yeah,
Oh,
because
well, yeah. I mean,
like, I'm not about how people treat you, but misconceptions. Like, do you guys really live in beanstalks and up in the clouds? And do you really have gold in your house and a goose that lays golden eggs and play harps and things like that? But that's a tangent we don't have time for, so maybe next week.
Yeah, I don't think people want to hear this. I just don't think anybody cares except you, Tim.
Okay. Well, I'll do the research and I'll make a documentary about it one day. You can be the subject of the documentary.
Okay, I like that.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, two people, and
two people.
We'll talk to you next Friday, same place, same time.
Sayonara.